Now, the first sign that something's wrong with your oxygen sensor is usually that dreaded check engine light. You know the one, it pops up on your dashboard like an unwelcome guest and just sits there staring you down. Now that little light could mean a whole bunch of things are wrong with your car, from a loose gas cap to something a whole lot more serious. But let me tell you, a bad oxygen sensor is one of the most common reasons that light's gonna come on. See, the oxygen sensor's job is to keep an eye on the exhaust gases coming out of your engine. It tells your car's computer how much oxygen's in there, and the computer uses that information to adjust the air-fuel mixture. It's like a recipe. Gotta get that mix just right. But when the sensor goes bad, it sends the wrong signals to the computer. And when the computer gets bad information, it throws that check engine light on to get your attention. So, what do you do when that light pops up? Well, you don't ignore it, that's for sure. First thing you gotta do is get that code read. Most auto parts stores will do it for free, or you can get yourself a code reader for pretty cheap these days. Once you know the code, you'll know exactly what's going on. If it's an oxygen sensor code, well, you know you've come to the right place. Now, aside from that check engine light, another telltale sign of a bad oxygen sensor is your engine acting up. I'm talking about rough idling, misfires, hesitation when you step on the gas, even stalling out at the worst possible time. You know, all those things that make you want to pull your hair out when you're stuck in traffic. And you know what? It all comes back to that air-fuel mixture we were talking about earlier. See, when that oxygen sensor goes bad, it can't tell the computer how much oxygen's in the exhaust. So, the computer's basically flying blind, guessing at the right air-fuel mixture. And let me tell you, computers are lousy guessers. Too much fuel, and you're running rich, which can clog up your catalytic converter and cost you a fortune to replace. Too little fuel, and you're running lean, which can damage your engine in a hurry. Either way, you're looking at a whole heap of trouble. So if you notice your engine acting up, don't just crank up the radio and hope it goes away. Get it checked out because it could be a sign of a bigger problem. Chapter 3, Guzzling Gas Like It's Going Out of Style. Now if you're anything like me, you hate filling up your gas tank. It's like throwing money down a hole, especially with the way gas prices are these days. But you know what's even worse than filling up your tank at these prices? Having to do it twice as often because your oxygen sensor's gone bad. That's right, a faulty oxygen sensor can absolutely kill your fuel economy. See, when that sensor's not giving the right information, your engine might be running rich like we talked about before. That means it's dumping way too much fuel into the cylinders, and all that extra fuel's not doing you any good. It's just going straight out the tailpipe, wasting your hard-earned money. Now I know what you're thinking, Scotty, my car's old, it's supposed to get bad gas mileage. And yeah, older cars aren't gonna get the same fuel economy as those newfangled hybrids. But even an old beater should be getting decent gas mileage if it's running right. So, if you notice a sudden drop in fuel economy, don't just chalk it up to your car's age. Get that oxygen sensor checked out. Chapter 4. That smell can't be good. Alright, let's talk about something we all know and love. Car smells. Or maybe I should say car smells that you definitely don't love. You know what I'm talking about, that rotten egg smell or that overly sweet smell or even just an unusually strong exhaust smell. Yeah, those are not good. And you guessed it. A bad oxygen sensor can be the culprit behind those funky smells. See, when your engine's not burning fuel efficiently, it can release all sorts of nasty stuff into the exhaust. Things like unburned hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, even sulfur dioxide, which is what gives you that rotten egg smell. Not only are those smells unpleasant, but they can also be downright dangerous. So, if you're getting a whiff of something funky coming from your tailpipe, don't just hold your breath and hope for the best. Get it checked out. It could be a sign that your oxygen sensor's gone bad and you don't want to mess around with your health. Chapter 5. Failing that emissions test. Now, this last symptom is a real pain in the neck, especially if you live in a state that requires emissions testing. You take your car in, thinking you're good to go, and bam, you fail the test because of your emissions. Talk about frustrating, right? Well, you know what one of the most common reasons for failing an emissions test is? You guessed it, a bad oxygen sensor. See, that little sensor plays a crucial role in controlling your car's emissions. It tells the computer how much oxygen's in the exhaust, and the computer uses that information to adjust the air-fuel mixture to make sure your car's running as cleanly as possible. But when the sensor goes bad, it throws that whole system out of whack. Your car might start running rich, which means it's pumping out way more pollutants than it should. And when that happens, you're almost guaranteed to fail that emissions test. So, if you've got an emissions test coming up, do yourself a favor and get that oxygen sensor checked out beforehand. It could save you a lot of headaches down the road. Outrow, don't ignore your oxygen sensor. Those are 5 telltale signs that your oxygen sensor might be on its last legs. Remember, that little sensor might be small, but it plays a big role in keeping your car running smoothly and efficiently. Ignore the warning signs, and you could be looking at some pretty hefty repair bills down the road. But catch it early, and you can save yourself a lot of trouble and money. So pay attention to your car, listen to what it's trying to tell you, and don't ignore those warning signs.